Hey everyone, what's going on? Welcome to a new edition of the Genesis Community's Q&A show, the show where we answer your pressing questions in the Genesis online community. My name is Matt Lawson. I am your online community manager, and today, well, wouldn't you know it, I am working from home, like I'm sure so many of you are. If you're like me, you found that certain things can become more difficult when working from home. And always wanting to think about what content may interest you as a viewer, today I wanted to have an episode dedicated entirely to how you can use your Genesis products to make working from home as easy as possible. So that being said, we're going to go over a couple of things that are pretty cool. First of all, we're going to go over the functionality with your platform that we hope makes working from home a little bit easier. After that, all of you, this episode is dedicated to our on-premises users. So after we go through the on-premises functionality that may make your life easier, we also want to talk about an offer that Genesis is extending that will allow you to keep the products that you have, but for the time being, work from the cloud for 90 days free of charge. We'll get into that more as this episode progresses. But for now, I wanted to dive in with an expert and go over the functionality that you have currently that you may or may not be aware of that can make your lives a little easier. So, also, at the end of the episode, we'll go over who won the exam vouchers from last week's episode. If you didn't get a chance to check that out, please do. That episode was dedicated entirely to the education programs going on at Genesis. That way you can keep learning while you're working from home, and who knows, maybe take a much needed break from some of your loved ones. I mean, there are loved ones, but sometimes you need a break. I'm sure you understand. Anyway, why wait? Let's get started. Hey, Nico, welcome to the show. How are you today?
Hi, Matt. I'm well, thank you. And yourself?
Doing just fine. And it looks like, are you working from home? I can't quite tell.
Yeah. No, I'm from home. I think most of the world is working from home at this stage.
Absolutely. And that's why we wanted to have this episode because, as a lot of people who are watching this probably know, PureConnect On-Premise is meant to be an on-premise solution. And that doesn't necessarily always translate the smoothest to working from home, right? So so I'm really thankful that you could come by and talk a little bit about some of the options that are available for our customers out there who have to switch up their work environment a little bit.
Certainly, I can shed some light on that, and also talk a little bit around how easy it is to configure customers and get their agents to work from home. Right? We have a variety of options available, and I'll go into a little bit more detail about that in a few minutes.
Perfect. Well, let's go ahead to get started. Why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself? How long have you been with Genesis? What do you do? Where are you at in the world?
Yeah, I've been. I'm based out of Johannesburg, South Africa. So I'm a bit far away from most of the world, but that's not a problem for us in this day and age with with remote access and Zoom recordings and web conferencing. I've been with Genesis for 3 years. I was part of acquisition. Interactive Intelligence was purchased by Genesis, and before that, with Interactive, I was 6 years. And that was also an acquisition in turn, where I was before at a partner for 16 years. So I've been working quite long with the PureConnect product. I would say almost around 15 years, right with the start of when it was still called CIC in those days. My current role is I'm a director in professional services. Looking after the migrations program. I'm also intimately involved in actually getting customers or enabling customers to enable their agents to work from home.
Perfect. Well, I'm sure this is a very busy time for you.
Yeah, certainly.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for taking a few minutes to hang out with us today. I know I really appreciate it. I hope some people who are joining us will learn from you. So go ahead. You're the expert here. What do you think? Like, imagine, you one day just imagine the government kind of says, hey, you need to shelter in place. You can no longer go to the office. And you're used to using a PureConnect in an on-premise environment. What do you think would be a good first step for a manager in this situation to help, get their agents going in a remote setting?
Yeah, sure. From a PureConnect perspective, if I need to enable my agents to work from home from a manager, I think one of the biggest concerns for me is how do I manage my workforce, right? If I enable them to work from home. But the good news is we have a variety of ways to enable managers to manage their workforce from home. And that's quite easy. And also, just setting up work from home from agents in the first place, right? So how do I enable voice for agents? How do I enable application access? And also other options that you can use, which companies typically have already, VPN connections and application delivery via VDI capable systems like Citrix or Terminal Server.
Okay, great. Well, I know talking a little bit before we started recording, I know you had a PowerPoint together that you wanted to run through. What do you think? Would that be a great place to start, just to kind of get an overview of working from home options?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's great just to show the audience visually as well what they can expect if they enable home workers, and as well as from a supervisory interface point of view.
Awesome. Well, go ahead. I'd love to see what you have.
Okay. Yeah, work from home can be split into separate sections, right? And it all really depends on what kind of functionality a customer wants to provide their agents, right? You can have work from home in normal circumstances when you've got a distributed workforce, or in situations like today or the last few months where there's really an emergency situation and agents can't work from home. So it's up to the customer, and it's up to their up to the customer requirements. Really, that's really going to determine how far you will take working agents from home. Right? So looking at the presentation, and hopefully you can see it.
Mm-hmm. You're good, looking good.
We have a variety of options, as mentioned before. Now, working from home is split into two pieces, right? So if an agent only needs a voice access, or if you don't only want to route calls to an agent via his chosen voice endpoint, like a landline or a mobile phone, you typically don't need application access. Although application access does give you much more functionality. So if you look at the presentation currently, from a PureConnect user application point of view, you have a variety of options to deliver the application to the agent desktop at home. Now, there's pretty much three options here. You've got the FAT client, and this is our much loved interaction desktop package that customers have been using for a few years. This application, and you can see that in the middle over here, which is the Interaction Center desktop, can be delivered in two ways to an agent at home. Okay, it does require a local installation. So if an agent has VPN access to a customer's or to their company's corporate network, they can actually access this application via normal VPN and the local network. However, the latest version of Interaction Connect is web-based. This is the latest version of the agent applications. If this is published on the website and secure, agents can connect it to this via the internet quite easily, and on the local network via VPN as well. Then there's a third option. These applications can connect via WebSockets as well. This is a PureConnect only feature, although it only covers agent applications, not supervisor applications. So these are the three ways to access your agent desktop from home. And the good news is these three options can be enabled by your internal IT team. So you don't necessarily have to have Genesys assistants to do this. Secondly, we also have quite a comprehensive reference library on www.genesys.com, specifically for PureConnect, that can guide you through all these steps. Now, if you look at some of the options that I just showed from an application point of view, you need to remember if there is any integrations that's done, and it is integrations done to backend systems. If those backend systems aren't available via the web, you will require VPN access. Okay, so to actually use the integrations or screen pops. So if you look at the presentation currently, this really just shows you the WebSocket compatibility. As you can see, most of these applications are available except for the admin interfaces. Okay, so let's look a little bit at the voice options. By the way, if you have application access, you will have access immediately to all digital channels, meaning you have access to chat, chat channels, social media, email, and any other channels that you've configured. Okay. Now, the application itself doesn't give you voice access. You have to add a voice endpoint to your agent installation, or specify which voice point you are using in order for customers to reach you via phone. Okay, so here we support various scenarios as well. Customers or agents can use hard phones, and they can use this as an endpoint, or they can use this over VPN by using the PureConnect SIP bridge. They supported Polycom and AudioCodes devices that we can use in this scenario, and you can find the supported models on our reference library. However, that's not the only option. A lot of agents use soft phones or SIP soft phones. So the PureConnect soft phone can also be used, although you will have to have VPN access to utilize that. From a remote station point of view, you can configure home or mobile phones for this. And you can actually select the, configure this as persistent connections also. Now, keep in mind, you can connect these phones via remote station functionality, but there is some caveats around this. When a customer calls into your PureConnect system and they get connected to yourself at home on your mobile or on your home phone or hard phone, there will be PSTN costs that will be applicable to that call. Because effectively, the call comes into your company, and the company is actually forwarding that call to your endpoint of choice. So there's actually two legs to that call, meaning there's a PSTN costs. So that's something to be considered when a company considers using this way to enable their home agents. And then, just as a caveat, we do not support third-party soft phones over the VPN, internet, or with the SPCs. So we don't support them. Then one of the coolest options, the best options that we have to enable agents at home is via WebRTC on PureConnect. Okay, so however, the setup for this is slightly more detailed because it does imply or does require you to have a PureCloud org integrated to PureConnect, and you do need a local PureCloud virtual edge to enable that functionality. But the good news is, if you've done this once, it will always be available for your company. Right, so you have a choice to use WebRTC, and then that will be a question of plugging in your headsets and opening a Chromium-based web browser to enable that functionality. Again, third-party WebRTC phones, they are supported in Interaction Connect. However, so AudioCodes have developed they have an SPC with developed add-ins that support WebRTC phones in a station format on Interaction Connect. So just to be clear, agents working on digital channels only do not require a voice endpoint. They only need application access. So this is just a more in-depth explanation on what remote stations are and what functionality they provide. I'm not going to go into too much details here. It is actually self-explanatory on how this can be configured. I think it's important to mention licensing. So for all of these options for workers at home, you do not need any Genesis licensing, right? I think that's great. It's not a feature that needs to be enabled. It's enabled by default. Now, it might need some rearranging or reallocation of licenses, but no new licenses are required. Okay. The only case where you'll need new licenses is when you want to enable more workers than you're licensed for. And we do have some licensing programs during this emergency by where Genesis will make temporary licenses available to you as a company and as a customer during this period for a certain amount of time, free of charge.
Wow.
And information, it's on our website.
So in terms of finding more information on how to get those licenses, is there do you have a website that you can point us to? Maybe I can link to it when we post this episode.
Great. It's actually on the main website. It's
Okay.
on a, so what is important here as well is, I mean, the best thing is just contact your local Genesis rep. They should all be trained in how to provide those licenses.
Gotcha.
Yeah, here are all the references to the material that I just mentioned on how to actually configure the remote stations, the interaction subbridge, the recommended SIP IP phones that you can use, and also the web applications installation guide for Interaction Connect.
And Nico, thanks so much for going through that with us. I know it was a lot of information. The great thing is this is a community. So if anybody does have follow-up questions, please post in the community. We have some great colleagues like Nico keeping an eye out because we want to make sure you're all comfortable during this time. And like I think I mentioned at the top, the presentation that Nico went through will be attached to this episode. So if you need to reference that PowerPoint for anything, it'll be available to you. Nico, anything else you want to share that somebody working from home might need to know at this time?
Yeah, so working from home is, I have to admit, I'm actually a traditional office worker.
Mm-hmm.
If from working from home, it's important to set your schedule. It's important to do some exercise in between. I know this has got nothing to do with vacations, but it's important to actually change the way that you work to work from home successfully.
Yes.
Thank you for your time.
What do you think? Do you have a particular jazzercise video series that you've become quite a fan of during this time, or how are you working out?
Well, it depends if my internet line is working. Remember, I'm in Africa, right? So we're a bit limited. But I do like some of the local published exercise programs that we use here in South Africa in local languages. Although I do look at some of the YouTube stuff and Amazon Prime episodes around exercise specifically.
Cool. Awesome. And I agree with you. Working from home is something I typically do it like once a week, but to switch over to that being a full-time schedule, it definitely took some adjusting for me. And I'm now really starting to find my groove. I have discovered that drinking water throughout the day, surprisingly helpful, and not skipping meals also just tends to make me a happier individual.
Yeah, I must say, you're looking so surprisingly fit after these 2 weeks.
Right. Well, cool. Hey, Nico, I know you're a busy man. You've got a lot of people out there that you want to help. Thank you so much for your time. Everybody who joined us, please stay tuned though, because Nico did a great job of showing how you can keep using PureConnect during this time. But if you are feeling a little bit more adventurous and interested in maybe trying out our cloud solution, Genesis Cloud, we're going to be checking in with Derek and Neil, and we're going to hear a little bit more about an offer that Genesis has where you can try PureCloud for a small amount of time. So, hey, Nico, thanks so much for joining us. I appreciate you, and I hope we can have you back soon.
Thank you, Matt.
All right, we'll catch you later. Hey, everybody. So we just went over what's the very basics of what's included with your platform. Now, that being said, we're in the middle of a global ordeal. And Genesis as a partner to you wants to offer you the best services that we have available. Working on premise doesn't always make life easy. So for all of our customers, we wanted to make sure you understand that if you're interested in trying out working from the cloud, we have a response program that'll enable you to do so within 48 hours. And the best part is it's entirely free to use for 90 days. So if this is something that you are considering, please join us for just another 10 minutes or so. We're going to go over what the plan is, some of the benefits, how quickly you can get sped up, and maybe you'll consider it. There's just another way for you to maximize your use of Genesis and the Genesis program, all while at the end of the period being able to go back to the tool that you are already using and hopefully loving. So without further ado, let me go ahead and bring on Derek and Sammy, and we're going to talk about the rapid response offer. All right? So just bear with me, and let's get them on the call. Hey, Derek. Hey, Sammy. Welcome to the show. How are you guys?
Hi. Good, thank you.
Good, very nice. So this is kind of an interesting thing for me because, Derek, you were one of the first people I ever met when I started working at Genesis. And Sammy, I literally just met you 2 minutes ago. So real quick, I'd love to, have a formal introduction to both of you. Not saying that I have a favorite on this call, but Derek, maybe we can start with you. Tell us a little bit about what you do with Genesis, your role, and then we'll get to know Sammy a little bit. So Derek, what's up? How are you? What do you do?
Good. Yeah, I'm good. I'm a senior product marketer at Genesis. I focus on mainly service delivery or delivery services and cloud migration strategy. And right now I am heads down working on talking about our response to kind of COVID-19 and the global need that our customers are having right now, and how we're communicating that.
Awesome. Yeah, and if Derek looks familiar to you, I know he goes to a lot of the conferences that we do, so there's a good chance that you've bumped into him there. And Sammy, what about you? Can you tell us a little bit about your role at Genesis?
Yeah, sure. I'm Director of Professional Services, and I lead a lot of the commercialization and strategy for Genesis Cloud within professional services. And so most recently, I was tasked with leading the creation of the rapid response professional services deployment that we just launched very recently.
Awesome. Yeah. And Sammy, thanks so much. And Derek, both of you, thanks so much for joining us. We know that, this day and age, a lot of companies are having to pivot quickly to, setting up working from home environments. And, just before you all came on, I talked with some other colleagues about some of the great services that their current platform offers, for PureConnect and for PureEngage, ways that you can enable remote workers. But I know one of the other things that we've come up with is the idea of this rapid response plan. And the idea is it's for Genesis. We want to be able to make the option for people to go to a cloud solution for free for 90 days, make it really easy for them to do the transmission. Sammy, I know you're going to be talking a little bit about what that timeline looks like in terms of, going from on-prem to cloud using Genesis Cloud. But Derek, maybe you could give us an overview of the offer overall. What do you think?
Sure, absolutely. Let me share my screen here. So this is our, let me see if I can get this full screen. Okay, so this is our rapid response offer, the one that Sammy had just referenced. So we recognize that we have a lot of customers all over the world who are very negatively affected by this unexpected disruption of COVID-19. People are having to enact work from home policies very quickly. And so for our existing Genesis Engage and PureConnect customers, we've put together this offer in record time so that they can not transfer from what they have now, but add on to, so that they can enable a work from home environment in case their own setup isn't really set up for that. So what this is it's not intended to be a replica of their existing platform, just something that will enable their agents to work from home who used to work from the office very quickly, so they can keep those calls and emails going, and just kind of a business continuity plan. It's not really an offer since we're giving it away for free. It's more of a plan. And so this is voice and email with inbound IVR, ACD routing, and IVR callback. It's got the interaction recording both for voice and digital. Genesis Cloud comes integrated with employee collaboration tools like chat and document sharing and other things. And we are giving away some e-learning for agents, supervisors, and admins that can be consumed within 48 hours. And that is how quickly we can stand this up in 48 hours. So it's after that 48 hours is over, your 90 days free begins with Genesis Cloud. And also I should mention, and I just found this out late last week, that we have buy-in from our partner app community as well, so that all of the partner apps that are available on appfoundry.genesis.com that you see that have a 30-day trial, you can get those for the complete 90 days of your Genesis Cloud instance. And so that's not included in the 48-hour stand-up procedure, but you do have access to those as well, and that's special for our existing customers right now. And we're not making them sign any commitments, minimum or maximum. You don't have to sign up for a year or 3 months. No minimum or maximum seat count. This is really something that we just came up with, and we've been deploying this rapidly over the last couple of weeks to our existing customers.
Awesome. And yeah, Derek, just in the interest of like pure transparency, so this is only for customers, somebody who already has an existing contract or set up with Genesis. That's correct?
This particular offer, yes. That was the first thing that we did. That was right away, like, we have to take care of our customers. We have to make sure that they can continue operations during this time. And so that was our first thing. Now we are coming up with a version of this for new logos. But it's not going to be as generous as the customer-facing offer, because we really want to make sure that people who have already invested in us are taken care of first.
Gotcha. So, can you maybe take us a little bit through the process? And Derek, I'm not sure if it's going to be you or Sammy who's best for this, but I am kind of curious, like after somebody calls in, they decide that they want to make the, yeah, okay, great. You have a slide about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
They call in and yeah, go ahead, just get started.
The content has been developing fast and furious around this. I mean, it's literally hour by hour, day by day. So really what happens is when you signal intent either to your customer success manager or your account executive, you start having a conversation and you have to do three things right off the bat. You have 4 roles within your organization that you have to identify to make sure this happens. There needs to be a system administrator designated, a training coordinator, a lead kind of contact for professional services to contact, and also a lead support contact for logging cases. Now, depending on the nature of the organization, one person could assume multiple roles, but those roles have to be designated right away. And then we go through a process where we check your network. We've altered our existing network readiness tools from professional services so that it can be sent to remote workers to spot check their networks to see if these agents even have the ability to take voice calls from home. Because a lot of people are having to kind of, stay at home and hibernate. And so they have family members who want to stream video and use the internet bandwidth. It's a very hot commodity right now. So we're just going to do that sanity check to make sure that that this is feasible. And then we give them a discovery questionnaire that they need to fill out that gives us the details, about their queues, about their call flows, about their locations, and other information that Sammy can talk to you a little bit more in a minute about, what it is that you need in this business continuity contact center organization. And then the customer will get an email after they can formally sign up, within like half a day. They're gonna get this email. As soon as they click the link in that email, the 48 hours begins, and professional services leaps into action. At the same time, there's product adoption measures that we provide, and so we're going to give the training coordinator a link to here's all the training that you're going to need to take. This is absolutely crucial to do within that 48 hours. We do have rapid deployment capabilities, but there's also the human side of this. The people need to be trained, the admins, the supervisors, the agents, they have to know how to use the interface to start taking those calls, to start taking those emails. And then within 48 hours, they should be ready to go. And from then we have some additional elements that we can continue to supply at scale to those customers to ensure that they are getting all of the help that they possibly need to adopt this properly into their organization in this really, really aggressive amount of time.
Gotcha. I mean, that's a lot to do in 48 hours. It's really cool. And at this point, like you have a tried and true system. Like, have you had any customers, and maybe Sammy, this is a question for you. Have you had any customers that didn't make the 48 hours? It took them a little longer.
We're generally actually being very, very successful with the 48 hours. In fact, we're even seeing some that are going live within the same day, within a few hours. But there are some, of course, you get the odd customer every now and then who will say, I don't want to go live after 48 hours. I want to go live a little bit later. Maybe my teams are not ready or something of that sort. But in general, like we have a process that is very, very, very streamlined now. We knew that we needed to get this up and running within 48 hours. And so, first of all, I'd say 3 things. First of all, we have Genesys Cloud, and Genesys Cloud is really a true cloud, as everybody knows, platform. And so there's no real install. It's all it's all in the cloud. And so you just need to go in and configure. So the next thing is we said, okay, we need to streamline and get a very, very simplified requirements questionnaire, discovery questionnaire. So it takes us through about 10 or 12 questions, basically. It takes the customer through, and the customer actually gets this during pre-sale, so they can already prepare it in advance. Then they come and with their answers, and we help them to rationalize those answers, and we come to a finalized set of requirements. And usually that whole thing takes 30 to 60 minutes with the customer to get to a final solution. Then the next thing is we take the results of that, and that questionnaire, it actually feeds into our automation tools. And our automation tools then are able to spit out a finalized configuration for the customer. The consultant goes in, maybe does a few checks, make sure it's okay. And then we run some automated QA scripts on that, which allow us to do the testing. And then the next day is UAT, and then we go live. So it's a very, very streamlined process. And we've run it through several times now, and we're seeing a lot of success.
That's awesome. One thing I was curious about, because like what's really neat about this offer is at the end of the day, you kind of have two systems that you can use, right? Because you still have, PureConnect or Genesys Engage, whatever system you're currently using, but you have the added benefit of, in these times you can use PureCloud. One of the things I was kind of curious is, what does merging the analytics or the dashboards or reporting look like between those two systems? Is there any way you can share that information? How does that process look?
So as part of obviously they're two separate platforms completely, right?
Mm. So
as part of usually, these are existing customers or on-premise customers on PureConnect premise or an Engage premise, right? So that's a separate platform completely. And so as part of the 48-hour deployment, we will provide the standard dashboards and reports that are available within Genesys Cloud,
mm-hmm.
right? But you could, if a customer has their info mart or their data marts, you could actually, as a subsequent project, you could actually look at how we could combine data. Sure. That would be possible as a separate engagement.
Sure. So what was that next slide, Derek, that you wanted to talk about? You're muted.
Sorry, no, that was an accident. I was fumbling around with the mute button. Sorry.
All right.
There's a lot more detail in this deck that we can share, and I didn't mean to interrupt what Sammy was saying, but that's stuff that we can go over when they signal intent to their customer success manager, account executive. There's different levels of conversation that we can have to enable that, and so that's just really what this is just a kind of a sneak peek and part of the that your account executive will go through with you to end that first conversation when you say, hey, I'm interested in this, I need to continue operations remotely, and how does this work?
Gotcha. So Sammy, what do you, having gone through this with like a fair number of customers now, what's at the end of the day, what do most of them really like about this process? Like after their current system is semi kind of put to the side and they're using Genesys Cloud, what kind of feedback have you received in terms of like, like it's been really great having this feature or, seeing this happen? Just curious.
I think the biggest one is that everyone's so surprised at how fast we can go with Genesys Cloud. They really are extremely surprised. I mean, I mentioned the city of Helsinki, which we did in, I think, 3.5 hours or something. But there are others that we're doing extremely quickly. And so customers who are used to kind of long deployments are just staggered by the speed at which we can go. And I think the other thing is, the other elements that we often see is the human element, right? The change management that the users have to go through. And again, our customers are saying this is extremely user-friendly, it's extremely intuitive, this user interface, right? So they're loving it, and their agents are getting, they just pretty much automatically know after a few minutes how to use everything. So I think those are probably the two key takeaways, that the ease of use and how fast we can go.
Cool. Sammy, Derek, anything else you want to add real quick regarding the offer or making the transition?
Not at the moment, no. I mean, we're still looking at ways to sharpen this up. We're working every day really hard. I'm seeing all the communications behind the scenes about ways that we're sharpening our tools, that we're continuously iterating on our onboarding process, just to try to make this absolutely smooth as possible for our customers.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say I think Derek's slide also portrayed it really well. We've worked very, very closely with our colleagues across the organization to create this process. So it's not just a professional services process, but it's been across the entire organization, from sales and the solutions consultants through professional services, through customer success. So I think that's been one of the great successes. The great success of this offer has been really our ability to pull it together as one Genesys.
That's awesome, guys. And if somebody wanted to learn more about this offer, where would you recommend they go? Is there a website or just reach out to your sales rep? What do you think?
It would be reach out to your sales rep. Yeah. There's we have a campaign landing page, but those campaign landing pages, I think we send them out individually through email to each one of our customers, so they should already have that. Those aren't Google indexed, so you can't really search on those. That's a specific offer just for our existing customers. And so reach out to your customer success manager, reach out to your account executive if you don't have a customer success manager, and they will point you in the right direction.
Awesome. And I know if you have any questions about PureCloud making this transition, the community is right now, a lot of people are all eyes on it, making sure if you have a question about the transition, getting set up, getting started, whatever, we have a lot of people paying attention to make sure you can get your answers turned around hopefully relatively quickly. Yeah. Cool. Sammy, Derek, thanks so much for stopping by. This has been really helpful. I don't think I really have too many questions right now. In closing, anything you want to add?
No, not today.
All right, awesome. Well, Sammy, it's been really nice meeting you for the first time. Derek, I know I'm sure I'll see more of you in the future. Oh, yeah. And yeah, thanks again for stopping by, guys. Have a good one.
Take care.
Hey everyone, thanks again for joining us for this week's episode. As promised, I wanted to end by having the drawing of our exam contest winners. As you may recall from last week's episode, which was dedicated to education opportunities at Genesis, we're giving away 3 free exam vouchers to people who entered the drawing. So what I've done is I've used a popular search engine that you may have heard of, and I found a popular randomizer, and I put everybody's name in, and let's see who wins. So the first name coming up is Rico Canelio. Congratulations, Rico. Coming up second is Mousehead Chic. I think I said that correctly. If not, deepest apologies. It seems to be a theme with this show. And in last place is, oh, cool. It's our friend Aaron. Aaron, congratulations. Aaron enters a lot of community contests, and I think this is the first time that they actually won. So a big congratulations to Aaron. I'm sorry I can't promise you that this will become a recurring theme, but I am glad we pulled your name out of the hat this time. All right, everybody, that does us for this week's episode. Thank you for joining us. I hope that you and your family and friends are safe. I hope your customers are doing well, and I can't wait to see you next time. As always, feel free to drop us a line, QAshow@genesis.com, or post in the community if you have any questions. We love to hear from you, and we love incorporating what you want to see in these shows into future episodes. So please, let us know what you'd like to hear us talk about. All right, that's it for me today. Have a good one, everybody. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in for this week's episode. We hope it was helpful and maybe a little bit entertaining. Each week, our hosts and experts review community discussions and debate what content to discuss, so your voice matters. Did we miss something? Do you have a question for the show? Let us know. Join the conversation at the Genesis online community. As a Genesis customer or partner, you can create an account. Just click the sign-in button found on most pages and follow the necessary instructions to create an account. Also, feel free to email us at QAshow@genesis.com. We'd love to hear from you. If this is your first episode, welcome. You can view our entire archives. Go to the Helpful Links panel found on most community pages and find the QA Show archive that interests you. We appreciate your support of the show and the community. Cheers!